I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and I've been at Longwood long enough time that there's not all that many issues that raise as much interest as this has tonight. Sometimes it's been housing, sometimes it's food, a few other things. This is one that we've heard a resounding message from students in the community about concerns about how people felt and maybe some expectations of additional communication that didn't come. We want to talk a little bit about that tonight and respond to your questions. But I think a big thing for us tonight that we really wanted to do, and some of you are business majors, and in the College of Business, they talk a lot about the 7 habits. Anybody familiar with those? One of the habits is, to listen to understand. And I think sometimes that's sometimes our most difficult habit to practice. I know I haven't practiced the best of it in the last week. Did a lot of reflection over the weekend about, how things came together on this, what happened, and how people have expressed their thoughts and their feelings about it. And so it came to me in terms of very clear that there's a very clear expression of how people, not only what is said, but how people feel and what people felt when they were fearful. So I hope that we can address our responsibility with this, how we go about this, and that one thing I really want you to be assured of, we are very cautious and careful about this role. This is one of the most serious roles we have. And there in an hour in the day, if something's happening, that we don't respond to this and take and evaluate it very clearly. And the folks up here, Chief Beach and Matt McWilliams in particular, we're usually part of a tribunal that looks at these things and tries to get this thing out very quickly. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves just a little bit and about their role. One of the things that I would say just about this space, it's an incredible space tonight that we're in here in Blackwell, and it was the home of the old dining hall where Longwood gathered in circular tables, past bowls, and I always think about this place as really the center of community and our history of where we are. Your statement by being here tonight and how you care about this talks about the quality of expectations that we are a community, a caring community, a listening community, and that's one of the things that we want to make sure that we communicate tonight. And I know that you all will, as you share your concerns and your issues tonight. I want you to know we're going to do everything we can to listen and learn and take things from here tonight and try to do better. So I thank you for coming, and look forward to hearing your comments. Chief?
I came here about 11 years ago, and president then was Patty Cormier. It was after a very, very tragic set of incidents, that being the events at Virginia Tech. And presidents all across the Commonwealth were looking at their safety and security efforts over universities across the Commonwealth and what that process was to be. Was it to be something different than what was currently laid out in a lot of places? We had a long discussion about that, and the agreement was that we would take and strive to build the strongest and the most professional public safety and law enforcement effort here at the university so that it could be and become the epitome of what campus safety and security should always be. And we spent 11 years doing that. And we've had some success, and every day is a growing day, though. One of the things that I've learned in my close to 50 years in law enforcement is there's something new to learn in my chosen profession every day. Whether it be a changed law, whether it be some new technology, or some new way to try to get around the laws and the safety of a particular place. And so it's a continual learning process. And so I hope to learn today. If I come away from anything over this past week or 2 weeks, it is this. I feel like, in some respect, that I may have come across, or I have failed in this. And I want to strive to create a confidence in you that you can trust the decisions that we make at the police department level and the efforts that we do to protect you, that you can trust us with that. So that when we act or we function, that you can have confidence. One of the things that every law enforcement agency across the country today is struggling with is an issue called transparency. The effort of that is this. The effort is to cause a community to grow in its confidence and trust of a transparent agency, transparent in the actions and activities they do, so that when a tragedy occurs or a difficulty occurs, there is that community's confidence is of a level that they will allow the details and facts to be brought to bear before knee-jerk reactions occur. And I don't think that I've got us to that level yet. And that's a failure. I mentioned it to some of our colleagues here on campus just a week ago. I'm going to work much harder to try to develop the confidence in you individually and as a group that what we do is to protect you. That's what I go to bed thinking about every night, and I wake up every morning. So I look forward to what you have to say. I hope you'll do the same for me.
Can you hear me in the back? Okay, I'm Matt McWilliams, and I'm the Assistant Vice President for Communications. I would echo kind of what Chief and Dr. Pearson had to say. I do want to make a couple points about campus alerts. This is a topic that we spend a lot of time thinking about. And it's often kind of one of the most complex parts of our job. And there's a balance that we have to find. It's very serious, and it's very important that when we send out an emergency alert, that is an alert about an imminent and ongoing threat to your safety, and that you act on that alert. And there can't be any question about that. And that's why we have to hold these alerts to a really high standard. And that standard is that your threat is under imminent danger. And so that's why we make decisions, and that's how we make decisions. I'm happy to explain a little bit more about that as you guys ask questions and share your concerns. But we're always trying to find that right balance, and we're always trying to provide you with the information that makes you feel secure on campus, and lets you know that you are. Sometimes we meet that standard, and sometimes we don't. But we're always reevaluating afterward how well we did and what we can change in the future. And part of that reevaluation is listening. And listening to student concerns, listening to parent concerns, listening to concerns from faculty and staff. That's why we're here. That's why we have answered the phones and really tried to be open and talk to people and try to explain decision making and figure out how we can be the best communicators that you need us to be. So yeah, I look forward to your questions.
I just want to echo, I think take everyone's sentiments up here in terms of thanking you all so much for coming out and participating in this. I think it's really important that you have an opportunity and really this voice and this place to be able to share your concerns in a safe space and get the support that you need, and also make sure that you're heard in those. We do take them very seriously, and so I really appreciate you coming out and voicing those.
Alrighty, so again, I'm Josh, I'm going to be your moderator tonight. So these are our panelists, which means the questions will be for them. I may have to rephrase certain questions if they seem a little bit unclear, or I may have to ask for clarification. In terms of the rules, when it comes to question and answer, try to be concise with your question. Due to time constraints, please limit yourself to one question and avoid repetition if possible. Now, the reason being is I'm not trying to, again, limit what you're going to say, but there's a lot of people in this room, and I would hate for people to not be able to share their thoughts because we have someone taking up a lot of time, or repeating questions, things like that. So it's in the best interest of everyone here if we can adhere to these rules. And so how this is going to work, there's 2 mics here and here. If you have a question, please walk up to the mic. We have Brandon Bowen right here, who's in the white and black jacket. Over here we have Mary Zell Galen. And so they're going to be letting you know, okay, wait here, go here, and then here, back and forth. And they'll help you set up for that. So if you guys now would like to get in line, if you have a question, now is your time. I know it's going to be a little awkward, but until then, we'll wait. Sure. So if anyone has a question, now is your time up at the microphone. I know no one wants to be the first one up. Thank you. Lucas.
Hi, my name is Lucas Halton. I'm currently a first semester senior at Longwood. I just had a quick question regarding how many security cameras we have out at the Longwood Village apartments.
None.
Okay. Is there an explanation of why we don't have any security cameras out in the Longwood Village, but we do have them in our other apartment communities?
Funding.
How do we supposedly get this funding so we can ensure student safety, as LUPD stated on their website that student safety is a number one priority of theirs? This doesn't seem like this is a priority to Longwood or its police department.
Okay, let's address the whole process of video surveillance. Again, we came here in 2007, we had none, nowhere. So what we did, and realizing that there is limited funding across the Commonwealth to do anything, and particularly at university levels, we developed a series of phases to try to phase in cameras as funding became available. Then we developed a process too where all remodels and new construction would get cameras and so forth. So Longwood Village does not have cameras. I'm sorry, it is part of it is the desire of my heart to have cameras there, but I'll be honest with you, we had some very specific needs, other places that we needed to have cameras first. Is it a necessity out there? Yeah, I believe it is, and I strive every year, and we will continue to strive to find ways to get that done. It's a concern, but it's not a blind concern. It's not one that's not looked at and not finding ways to try to address it.
So how does the university plan on moving forward?
Lucas, if this could be your last question, please.
Can you repeat it? Yeah. How does the university plan to move forward after this incident with security cameras out in the Longwood Village?
There isn't a specific plan to immediately move ahead with cameras out there. When we go through the budget process, everything is looked at. And from sitting on the Planning and Budget Committee over the years, often this is kind of sometimes we'll see as much as $5 million worth of requests. And we'll have maybe $500,000, $750,000 to do things. And so it really competes with so many things on campus. And like Chief said, the priority has been, as we've done new construction, to get that on. We have I can't tell you exactly the number of security cameras, but it has increased immensely. And certainly this will be one of the things that's raised and probably pushes that up to a little higher level, I would suspect. So I think you raise a good point, Luke.
Hey y'all. So I'm Laura Parker. I'm the Assistant Director for Leadership Development and Programs here. Thank you all for being here tonight to speak with us. I think that this is the best move for you at this point. And I am speaking tonight because I feel that my job on this campus is to be an advocate for our students. Also, my job at this institution is leadership development. And as an institution whose mission is to create citizen leaders, I believe that one of the most, one of the things that makes a citizen leader is someone who sees something and says something. I believe that I've heard you, Dr. Pearson, as well as you, Chief Beach, say that numerous times. And I wonder, why is it that an institution that helps build citizen leaders will not take that step themselves as their own citizen leaders to be more transparent with our campus? Transparency is key to citizen leadership because it lets your people know, your followers, your other citizen leaders here on campus, our students, our faculty, our staff, know that you have their best interest in mind. When you are not transparent, it is difficult for you to see that that is the truth. So my question is, well, one, what your thoughts are on that, as well as for Mr. McWilliams, your policy to only give campus alerts when there is, I believe you said, an imminent and ongoing safety issue on campus. I'm wondering why exactly that is Longwood's policy when I know that there are several, many, I would almost dare say most, but I won't go that far because I don't know the statistics, do have a policy in which they alert students, faculty, and staff of any possible threat to campus. For instance, at my prior institution, UNC Greensboro, we often got campus alerts for incidents that didn't even necessarily happen on campus, but near campus. If there was an armed robbery at the grocery store or at the convenience store across the street, we got an alert. And especially if there was a man carrying a gun on campus, we got an alert. I got 2 of those. It did not cause a panic on campus, but it did let the students know that the administration had their best interests in mind. Thank you for giving me this time, and I look forward to hearing your answers.
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's, you obviously are very passionate about it, and I'm glad that students have an advocate like you here. What I would say is, and we do send out alerts to campus, notifications to campus, when there are things like armed robberies, incidents in town where suspects haven't been apprehended, they're near campus, don't know where they are, that type of thing. That rises to the level of an imminent threat to student safety. And what I would say about this particular incident is that police responded quickly and quickly determined that there was no imminent threat to campus safety. Right? We quickly knew some very, very fundamental facts. He left, was looking for one person, and he was heading out of town. So that's why it didn't trigger campus alert, because there was no imminent threat to campus safety. So the police response was by the book and so, okay? Where I think some of your frustration lies, and is in the fact that we should have been more cognizant of the emotions that photos like that would stir in students, and see things better from y'all's perspective, and share with you more details that would make you feel as secure as campus police knew that you were in that situation.
And let me just, one of the issues to help make the transparency stronger, let me encourage you, I'm assuming that you probably go to the police website periodically. Do you look at the daily crime log and those things? Have you?
No, sir, I do not. However, there are certain things that I do think should be more broadcast widely.
Yeah, well, let me encourage all of you to help us. One of the efforts that we make for the transparency is try to present, for example, our crime log does that, as well as timely warnings that's required by Clery and Title IX. We put those out every time that there is a significant event. Now, unfortunately, I don't know that we do, maybe we don't do a good enough job of making sure that everybody's aware of those availabilities of those. But it does take the effort to go and review those regularly.
Can I actually make a small suggestion? Would be perhaps if you are already kind of going through the process of posting crime logs onto the police website, if maybe perhaps you also post those to Twitter or something like that, so that students have the opportunity on a platform that they use to see those incidents.
That's a suggestion made by us, and we'll follow up with them after this. If we can go to Brandon Plank.
Hi, I'm Sarah. This is my 7th semester here, junior. And I would just like to know, as someone who is a third major, I understand that some people will. In this case, I want to know how you guys came to the decision that he wasn't going to be a threat. He may have been heading out of town, but there was also the option of him coming back later that night. He wasn't arrested until a couple of days later. I have a roommate who comes home late at night by herself. If she may have caught him or something and scared him. We see that all the time, that guns go off because people get scared when they're trying to do something. It would have been nice to know that evening because I could have warned her. She doesn't check her email, but I take care of her. She is my roommate. And I'm concerned for the other people that live in Village. A lot of us come home by themselves at night.
Very good point. The discussion about the notifications is obviously the reason we're here, but I will tell you that we were very certain. We arrived from the time we received the first call. It's very interesting, the number of people that knew about the event, but we only received 2 phone calls for it. But on both, from the first call, we were there within 4 minutes. And we determined that the gentleman had left, and that we got within about 15 minutes, we had his tag number. We then were able to look through video surveillance and find that he left town. In addition to that, through an aggressive investigative process, we determined what his purpose was. And his purpose was there was an ongoing argument between him and another student, and it was about to address that. He was not here to have a mass shooting of the campus. It was to try to address that issue. So I get it. I understand what your concern is, but our aggressive activity, we knew who he was, we knew where he was. We made contact with him through Prince William Police Department, and we were very confident that we knew where he was and what his status was.
certain people may or may not have
Yeah,
seen police.
I've been hearing all day that it was, you know, it was 18 minutes. I've got the CAD run sheets here, and that's not true. The first call came in, and we, as I said, from the time the call was received and dispatched, it was 4 minutes. Officers were on the scene. Now, and within a minute after that, 2 more officers arrived on the scene. They immediately began searching. They first went and talked to the gentleman that they had that had took the picture, and had interviewed him and was getting information. There was another person that called. They did not get to that person until probably about 15 to 20 minutes, but the reason was because they were searching to make sure that the car had left. They were going and visit and gathering the other intelligence that we had so we could verify who he was. So, the timeline is pretty specific with us and with the town of Farmville and a number of other agencies that helped us that day when we poured out resources to make sure where he was.
I'll just,
Something, sorry, I may have not expressed myself in the correct way, but I understand that the police was there at a timely amount of time as they could be, but just the fact that we didn't know about it until 24 hours after, and the way the message was worded, a lot of people who live off campus, who live in village or park, when it says, look out for this guy on campus, we're not thinking directly about village or about park. We're thinking, oh, right here, there's some guy walking around here that we need to be concerned about. We're safe out in village, because we're on the edge of Longwood. We're 2.8 miles away. And I should have probably expressed that before. But.
yeah, and that's something that I think is an important point, and will certainly be a factor in how we write notifications to campus in the future. So thank you for bringing that up. It's something that we should always keep in mind, that there are well, there are a couple different areas and statuses where people live. I'll say this too. I think, you know, could we have communicated better that there were increased police patrols because of this down at Longwood Village? Yeah, we could. And that's also something that we're hearing from you and feedback that we're taking in. I do want to underscore this. We take this extraordinarily seriously. This is not a lighthearted thing, and if there's anything that keeps all of us here up at night, it's campus security. It's your safety. And so, you know, when we make decisions, it's always through that lens and always through your safety. And in this case, you know, what you said holds. You know, there was no more immediate threat.
Thank you very much for that. If we could go over to Mary Zogalen's mic.
Hi, my name is Danielle Hughes. So my question is for Matt McWilliams. So you stated to Channel 8 News that you didn't feel that there was an imminent threat and that Malcolm Leviage was only here to intimidate one student. My question is why is it that a potential shooter threat to one student is not a threat to all students?
Sure, that's a great question. That's a great question. And I will underscore this too. It's not my call whether he is a threat or not. We have to trust law enforcement to make that decision. They're trained and they're the professionals, and so they make that decision. So it's not that I felt that he was no longer a threat, right? So he was no longer, what they determined is that he was no longer an ongoing imminent threat, verifiable imminent threat to campus safety from the point that police started their investigation. And that's the point. And the fact that he was aiming at intimidating and harassing one student is part of the investigation that led police to determine that there was no ongoing threat to campus safety.
Thank you very much for your comment. We're going to go over to Haley now.
So hi, my name is Haley Pinnell. My concern with this is not just this particular instance.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things with campus transparency because honestly, I'm really glad that this is happening. Like town halls are my project, so I'm very happy it's here. But in the past, when people have addressed safety concerns, I feel like they're not being heard, and I don't think that's fair. Because I can speak from a personal standpoint, I addressed many times since I was a freshman that I don't feel safe here because of what was happening with the flyers and the white supremacist group and the vandalism and all that kind of stuff makes minority students feel very scared. And an instant response to that was, well, you shouldn't feel that way. I don't appreciate being told how to feel. I would rather be told, hey, Haley, I'm sorry that you feel that way. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. This is some of the steps we're taking. I understand that not all information can be released on criminal investigations or any type of information because at the time I was just a student. But like all students matter and their opinions matter and their feelings matter. And I felt like I took the right steps to go to someone on SGA before I was on it, and then once I was on SGA, I continued to voice that. And I feel very hurt that the first response to that was, well, you shouldn't feel that way, or you're not in any danger. That kind of stuff, like I understand that there are trained law enforcement who make those decisions and are very intelligent and they go through that kind of training, and I don't. So what I might think is a threat, you might not think is a threat from that standpoint. What I was trying to say is that as a minority female who goes to the library in the middle of the night, who lived at LP last year, who lives off campus this year and walks, I felt unsafe. And I don't really appreciate being told, oh, you shouldn't feel that way. So in the future, this kind of response is better than the response that I was given for 2.5 years. And personally, like, I'm really upset about that, but I'm moving forward. Like, I appreciate you guys coming here and speaking to students and listening to people's responses. And in the future, just please continue to speak like this and not like that, because that kind of stuff made me want to transfer.
I would like to, first of all, I would like to apologize if it was me that
Told you that. Did I tell you that? I'll apologize for that from this perspective. I understand fear. As a matter of fact, this will be maybe be a little awkward to say, but you know what? When I set the alert off, when I set that alert off, I want you to be frightened enough to do whatever you have to do to keep yourself safe. So I understand fear. And that's part of our life. If I said don't feel that way, I'm trying to encourage you to. I'm trying to encourage you to allow me to try to somehow or another show you shelter and support in an effort for you to be encouraged in your education and in your efforts here, and that you can do that strongly. It's never to put down your fear. It's trying to build an encouragement and a confidence in what we're doing here.
Thank you very much for that. We're going to go over to Jalen Jones.
I'm Jalen Jones, and I just wanted to inform you all that I do live in Longwood Village. So the sidewalk Malcolm was on, I can see out of my window, and that's very concerning. My first question is to Chief Beach. Before the incident that occurred January 27th, did Malcolm Levitch cause any other problems before?
Yes.
Could you describe those, please?
Well, I won't go into all of it. I will tell you that it was back in November in which he was involved with a domestic event with a young lady that he was dating, that he had grown up with, and it was here with.
Okay, thank you. So, like, in high school and in middle school, when there was like a bomb threat or any type of threat to the school, we would go on immediate lockdown. So why doesn't that apply to like college? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why doesn't that apply?
One of the great things about doing a K through 12 security program is that it's generally confined to maybe 2, 3 buildings and the ability to lock it down. As a matter of fact, most of them are locked already, okay? Lockdown is much different. At a public institution where you have all these roadways in and out and so forth, although we have a lockdown process that when we determine imminent threat, we have the ability to be able to literally instantly lock down most of our buildings.
Thank you. And then here comes the solution. So I think we do need blue lights out there. There's only 2. One's next to the pool, one's next to the mailboxes. We do not use the mailboxes at all. The pool is not.
And let me say that we put a request in to have that moved. We have been addressing that this year.
Okay, great. And then also, I will be living in Longwood Village my senior year. So I think a cool project would be like having that community gated, just like any other facility. So that means like the only way you can get on Longwood Village is if you have your Longwood, like unless you're a resident, and then the guard will come up. That's the only way.
That's a great idea. Let me just throw one thing out to you though that is a concern for me as a chief of police. And that is every day we deal with circumstances where people that are unwanted and not necessarily allowed to be in our facilities are allowed in by people that through tailgating or in that type of thing. So those security efforts, and that's an interesting thought and one that would certainly be part of the consideration. But I will always remind students, please, please, please be very, very cognizant of your surroundings, and when you're coming and going from your buildings, that you are making sure that people that are coming in with you are supposed to be there.
And one last statement, and I'll wrap it up, Josh. So I'd rather for Longwood to spend money on security than for parents to have to put their child in a casket and pay for funeral arrangements. I don't want this university to be like Sandy Hook Elementary School. I don't want it to be Virginia Tech. You all do have a reputation to fulfill, and I'm totally with that. But I think as a university, we need to be cautious, like beforehand. I don't want an incident to happen to the point where we do have to have security. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How you guys doing? My name is Norman Kirk. I'm a junior here at Longwood. I have 2 questions, and you guys can tag team it if you want to. The first of which is touching back on the funding for the Campbell project. I noticed that there are 2 new buildings in progress. Upchurch is just finished, and there's another statue being being put in front of Bible and in front of campus. So to say that there is no funding feels like they're not being allocated in the right places. The second thing is just to touch on something that you might have said, Chief Beach, and I don't think you meant it this way. You said he was not an imminent threat to campus because it was one person. So one person over the rest of campus is still a problem. One loss of life should not be okay because the rest of campus is still safe. A loss of life is still a loss of life. That is still somebody's child.
Yes, speak, Norm.
My point is, just so you know, those buildings that are being constructed will be outfitted with cameras. They're part of the construction process, and that's part of our build-out requirement. Secondly, your response is right. I didn't mean that one life was not worth it. I'm just saying that the focus of the individual that was here was focused on one person and not a mass of people. So when that was part of the investigative process.
I'll just make one quick comment about funding, and it is confusing in terms of the many projects that go on. Why are we doing this versus that? Many of the projects are state funded, and so those come through the Commonwealth of Virginia. There's a whole very involved process in terms of how that money is allocated for very specific things. That's why the security is attached to new buildings that we get. That's part of the capital funding for that. But for other projects that we have, those are funded typically out of student dollars. So those which we call auxiliary funds, the dining facility, the fitness center, housing, things like that, those all come right out of your pockets. So that's how it's funded, and so there's a limit to that, different kind of limit than some of the others.
I just want to remind you all, if you could try to be concise in your thoughts and not ask a ton of follow-up questions. I know it's an impossible challenge given the situation, but as you guys can see, we have a lot of people in line. We'd like to be able to hear from all of them. So, could you go over here?
Hello, my name is Christopher Wells. I am a junior who also lives out in the Longwood Village. I was concerned after this happened because I had prior knowledge to it going on, and I want to know why people in the village, including myself, have been encouraged to keep quiet rather than come out with the...
I would be curious to know who asked you to keep quiet.
Well, personally, when I was invited into your office to have a chat after an email I had sent out to people, I was wondering as to why I was told to not bring concerns to people that I'm familiar with, as well as another person who had posted things on social media as well.
I'm not certain if all of the details of our conversation we should bring out here, but let me just say this. My concern with you and what you put out that time was the fact that you listed a whole bunch of events and issues that were not true. So with not having bad information and putting out false information enhances fear and confusion and doesn't.
The only thing that I remember being false in there was the first incident, which had nothing to do with the person in the village. It had to do with another incident that happened on Monday that I did not have all the information on, which I do apologize for that. But how is it that you focused on only that one aspect rather than the others? And what of the people on social media who have addressed their concerns, not just them?
I would never try to stifle anybody's desire to use a First Amendment right to speak out. My concern was that all the information that you had put in the paragraph that you put out that had all the bad information in it was, in fact, very fearful. And I didn't really even talk to you about the second incident that was there. The other thing that I was concerned about is that I'd received several parents' complaints because you were scheduling a 10:30 meeting in a parking lot, and they didn't know that.
All right, gentlemen, we need to keep the conversation detail-based, and if things cannot be spoken in front of the group, which is perfectly fine, information is private, then unfortunately we need to move on, because we're speaking in an individual conversation here.
I appreciate all of your time.
Can I say one thing? I think one of the things that you're touching on is one of the challenges that we face as communicators, which is in a lot of situations that involve the police in ongoing investigations, we want to share facts that we know are true with you so that you can make the best decisions. And a lot of times during an ongoing investigation, the stories are evolving, we're understanding more all the time, and we don't want to share misinformation with you because that is not only counterproductive, but oftentimes really dangerous. And so I think that's why we're sometimes sensitive to the information that is shared through kind of official channels, right, through RA to students and things like that, because we understand stakes. And I understand also, and more from hearing you and from hearing your emotion and feeling it, is that you were scared, right? And I understand that. And I think, being more attuned to that would have helped us make better communication decisions and share more details with you that we could share with you. But in every ongoing police investigation, any journalist, anyone will tell you is that there are certain things that sometimes that we can't say. And I know it's frustrating, it's often frustrating for us too. And so I think that's, you're hitting on kind of one of the real challenges here. And again, I said it at the beginning, we try to hit that right balance for you guys. And I think sometimes we do, and I think sometimes we don't. And we're always learning, and that's why we're listening. So I appreciate your sharing your concerns, and I hope that makes some things clear.
I do appreciate your time as always.
Just one quick thing I would add to that as well. I think one of the things that certainly we also try to do is be very accessible to students. We'll never turn down a student who wants to see me and ask anything, and I will tell you what I can. And I think our concern with this was to get accurate information available. And some of the things, quite honestly, like Smith said, we cannot say. And it's different when the Commonwealth of Virginia says something who we represent versus something that anyone can tweet. I'll give you an example. Josh called me, right here, called me the night of the second event that took place in town. He knew a lot more information at that time than I knew or anything. And I said, Josh, would you wait and I'll contact Chief and see the kind of things that's going on with that. And he did that. And then he tweeted information that went out. That was really helpful and respectful. So I would encourage any of you to do that as well. And I hope that we can be where we listen to one another and also trust one another with that. So thanks.
Thank you very much for your comment. Yes, sir.
Hey, my name is David Wilson. I'm also a village president, and I also have prior knowledge of the event. So you've talked about transparency and accessibility, so I have two questions for you. Why did it take almost 2 weeks for Longwood campus to know that there was someone out here looking to kill a student? For the message to be spread to the student body that there was someone here with a gun on campus?
Well, again, the only thing I can say is that police determined that there wasn't an ongoing, an imminent threat to campus safety, and that's why it didn't trigger a campus alert. What happened is a really frightening photo spread around campus, and we should have taken into consideration how that made you feel and the information you needed. Once we started hearing those voices more and more, we tried to share more information with you, and that's when we started to, that's why we wanted to listen here tonight too, is because we want to know how we can be better and do better.
I have one more quick question, and this is just true or false. I've heard from several sources that the individual who was on campus is released on bond. Is this true or false? I've heard that the individual who had the weapon on campus is released on bond. Is that true or false?
True.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Yes, Dustin. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Destiny Smith. I'm kind of like frustrated because I feel as if it's like either y'all are here to support us or not. I feel as if the question that that young man just asked you handled it in a wrong way because you answered it by saying he gave you false information. But if we want to talk about false information, y'all gave us false information. Because y'all said one thing in the email, but then on the 8 o'clock news interview, it's something else. 1 minute you say you responded to the situation within 2 minutes, but a student said 12. So my question is, what is the procedure when an RA or when somebody calls this dispatch about a situation like this? Because it makes no sense that 24 hours later, we hear from that, but yet in comparison, you can send out an email about a situation that happened in Cumberland with a police officer getting shot and giving us details back to back to back about that, but you can't give us details about what goes on within our campus and within this situation.
The phone call to dispatch was received and immediately dispatched. 4 minutes later, the first officer arrived on the scene. A minute later, 2 other officers arrived on the scene and began the investigation.
Yeah, to address your concern about kind of the timing of warnings in the Longwood Village incident versus the one in Cumberland. What I will say is that at that point, when the Cumberland incident happened, I was aware that there was student concerns, and we were all aware that there were student concerns about safety, and wanted to reassure the student body that the campus wasn't at risk. And so we tried to do that. We couldn't share any details because Virginia State Police told us not to. But you know, we wanted to reassure you because we knew that there were concerns about campus safety.
But you shared it with 24 hours later. We all need to know right then and there. I don't need to know the next day. I need to know right then and there. You, within the Cumberland report that you sent me, Cumberland's like 30 minutes away. The village is like right down the road. So you giving us details about that situation, but you can't give me details about this young man being in the village that could be harm to multiple people, that went and knocked on multiple people's doors looking for the person that he was looking for, and some people even answered the door. Okay? So can I get some answers?
Yeah. So just one point of clarification with the Cumberland thing. Cumberland, it happened about a mile north of town, so it was quite close.
It wasn't close because I'm from Buckingham, and I interned at the elementary school with the students, and the incident happened right down the road from the elementary school, so you can't lie to me.
I'm not lying to you. No.
Okay, but that's false information, once again.
Destiny, I really do appreciate your concerns, but please.
And your information is wrong. It occurred less than a mile outside across the bridge, just the other. Trust me, that's the truth.
I believe you're focusing on the wrong part of her question. I think that she is asking you why there was more information.
Audience, there is a way that we're going to go about this, which is the way that leads to the best results after this. If we could please maintain the level of decorum that we've set from the beginning, I would appreciate it. I know how hard it is. I know how upsetting it is. I wish I was out there being able to ask what was ever on my mind. I understand, but we have a level of decorum that we need to follow in order to have the best results after this. Because this, as I've stated at the beginning, is the first step. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard, but I really need everyone to band together on that. Yes, sir.
Well, can I just finish addressing you? The thing that I would say is that we try very hard to make the right decisions on communications when students need us to reassure them or to give them facts about something that's ongoing on campus that impacts them. Sometimes we hit it right, sometimes we don't. And what I'm hearing from you guys is this time we didn't. And we're learning from you, and we're trying to do better all the time. I promise you we're trying to do better, and that's why we're listening to you. And what I want to tell you, and I want to tell everyone here, is we hear you. We hear you. And the next time something happens and there's a police investigation, we will think about what we heard today, and what we hear from your parents, and what we hear from you all the time. And so we are always trying to do better, okay? And so this is part of that.
Thank you very much for your comments. I do appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Alright, so the first thing is you had just previously mentioned that it was a fearful picture. It wasn't a fearful picture, it was a fearful situation. The next thing is going to be, so you're saying, Chief Beach, that there are public records. If I am not mistaken, public records mean that if there is a arrest warrant, anything along those lines, it is sent out, it is public information. At that point, the phone call should be public information in the sense of when the time came in, or when the call came in, to when y'all responded. So can you tell me exactly what time, instead of saying that it was 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes? You've changed it.
Sure. The time that it was reported was 1517. It was dispatched at 1519, and the first arriving unit was 1523.
Next thing, you sent out a message with the make, model, and tag number of the car, and you sent out the guy's name. If I'm not mistaken, there are public photos. Why could the public photo not have been sent out as well? Because I'm sorry, if I'm walking on campus, I'm not going to ask somebody what their name is and then report it.
To all of our partners in law enforcement, they had the description of the car, a copy of the tag number, and the picture of the rear of the car, plus the photograph that we got from Facebook of the gentleman. DMV photos are restricted by law from being able to be distributed. We distributed within about 40 minutes of the call to all of our law enforcement partners for the lookout, because we flooded the area to make sure we didn't have that car back in our area. So they did have all that information.
They have. We did not. As a Longwood resident, even after he was booked, the mugshot is public records. Am I wrong?
It can be.
Okay, it can be. So if we could get the email about the car and all of that, and he hadn't been arrested, when he was arrested, why could we not get the picture then? He's out on bond now. We still don't know what he looks like unless we do the research.
If this can be your last comment, so I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've heard from you is that we could have been better at telling and informing you of all the steps that happened. And I hear you, and we will certainly, think about that the next time. Think about what you said here. That's what I can say. We didn't put out a release when he was arrested, simply because one of the factors was that he was released on. But I hear you, and you need information from us, and that is something that we'll certainly take into consideration going forward, and remember, and factor into all our decisions.
Thank you so much.
Also, there doesn't have to be.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is James Miller. I'm a current Farmville resident, former Longwood student, former Longwood employee. And there's three different capacities of being involved with Longwood. I'm seeing something happening now that I've historically experienced in Longwood. So this isn't a question so much an observation for the sake of solutions, since we're so hell-bent on finding solutions tonight. It took us about 20 minutes into this to get a shoulda, coulda method of improvement, word of improvement that came from Matt. And we've had a couple of those sprinkled throughout this conversation. If I were in a room with this many people upset with how I had handled a situation as part of a larger system, I would try to open with, we acknowledge that you're upset, and we apologize for our involvement. And that setting. I understand as an actor self-preservation wanting to say, no, we did this for this reason, this reason. But I would say that going here on out for this situation and future situations, my solution for you all is to do a better job of acknowledging wrongdoing and a better job of saying, here's how we plan to not do that again in the future.
I'm Kylie. I'm a senior sociology major, and like earlier, I'm thinking a little more broadly. I've been here for 4 years, and I've seen quite a few incidences. I don't necessarily feel safe at a school where white supremacists feel like they can post their white nationalist propaganda. I don't necessarily feel safe at a school where people can chalk up Trump on the library. I don't necessarily feel safe at a school that has me walk through floodwaters to get to my car when I didn't even know there was a hurricane, and public schools closed early. So to me, those things fall in the thread, and I didn't get a heads up about any of them. I didn't get an apology about any of them. So I want to know what Longwood's definition of imminent threat is.
Do you care to clarify the definition of imminent threat?
Well, the question was, what is an imminent threat?
The definition.
My definition of an imminent threat is that there is a person with intent and capabilities to cause immediate harm.
Thank you for that. Oh, I'm sorry, Joy.
Yeah, just a quick point on the stickers that's an ongoing issue. Where did you say?
To the right.
There you go, sorry. Just a quick point on the stickers. It's important to remember that we are on public property, and anyone can come onto public property and have a sticker palmed in their hand and walk by somewhere and slap it up. Those repeated incidents launched an investigation where police have tried to find the person who's done it, and they've done police work. We don't, we can't stop someone from doing it if they're hell bent on walking by doing it, unless we know that they're about to do it. And so, that comes with being, on public property, just like, if we were a public library or anywhere else. So, I just kind of want to, we have limitations because of who we are.
Thank you very much for that. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Chris Alexander. I've just got a few questions. Most of them concern, we talked about funding earlier. So you mentioned the lack of funding going towards cameras in the village. How long have you guys been trying to secure funding for cameras in the village?
Well, we
started the camera, placing cameras as about 6-7 years ago.
Okay, so, and yet we have a statue that was started and put up just this year. So why should I give Longwood my money if I feel like they're more concerned about their self-image over my safety? Riddle me that.
That's obviously a tough one to satisfy you with. There is just broad interest in the campus of many different things. The level of safety certainly is a high priority. There are many more things where, and also placements where we would like to have cameras in parking lots and in other places too. So that is part of an ongoing initiative that's going on. So it's it's a balance with that, and that's what I can tell you. Sometimes we get funding for many things that is a gift for a particular thing, and we don't often get gifts for cameras. But so that happens. Just like in the art center, someone may donate things there. Someone may donate, or specifically for a scholarship, we'll get money for that. So it's just, there's a lot to it, and that's all I can tell you. And it's a balance with that.
All right, and my last question actually doesn't have anything to do with funding, it has to do with another topic. So you've mentioned multiple times in this conversation that you didn't send out a message because you didn't feel it was significant or urgent enough to actually send the message out. And my response to that is somebody mentioned that you'd sent out detail after detail about an incident that occurred at one house because of a state police investigation outside of Farmville, but couldn't be bothered to send out this message until over a day afterwards. So I guess my question is this. You didn't send out that notification, and so a lot of people in the village may not have known about the gunman until after he left, but they didn't know about it when he was there with a gun. So, and this is more just a question for you guys to think about. What if a student had died because they weren't alerted about this? What if they walked out not knowing there was a gunman, and they run into this guy with a gun, and he got scared and shot them, and
he died. Would it have been insignificant then, or what?
No, student safety is never insignificant. Right? And like I said, it is something that we take very, very seriously. And it's something that we want to hear from you about. And what I'll say is this. What I'll say is this though too. Police can't respond to something they don't know about. And so when police are notified of something, they're immediately dispatched to the scene and then make a determination as to whether there's an ongoing and imminent threat to campus safety. And so we can't prevent every bad thing from happening if we don't know it's about to happen. Does that make sense?
But do you think maybe they would have known about it faster if there had been surveillance cameras in the village?
I think that's something that we've said we're going to address.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Can you go back over funding for the cameras? Like what your plans are?
What we did, we started a number of years ago, was built a plan to try to get cameras. And we've had a number of different events that have helped us do that. The debate helped us get more cameras. But we started to look at places that had significant crime issues where we could get cameras. So parking lots, various resident halls and so forth. So we've just expanded it as we could. Then we added the phase that said anything that is going to be reconstructed, for example, Curry Frazier, that area, anything that is going to be built new will have, as part of its protocol of its building, the camera systems. So, and then what we look for is opportunities of funding, budgetary, circumstances or situations, grants. There's a number of different things we look at to try to expand that. What would be our goal? Our goal would be to have a very robust camera system that covers over the entire Longwood University campus and property. When I say campus too, I'm not just talking about the triangle here, I'm talking about all of our facilities. Lancer Park, for example, when they built Lancer Park, one of the requirements was a new construction that we add cameras and have significant cameras there. So the process is ongoing. It's looking for and finding the method to get it done, and it's a concerted effort by everybody to try to find the money and the funds to be able to do that.
Is fundraising an option?
You know, fundraising is always an option. And I'll give you an example. We've talked. We would like to have some cameras and blue phones over in the Buffalo Street area. Okay, and we've talked to various community partners and so forth, and we still do that to try to find some way to maybe find partners to help. It's like we've done with the parking. with the crosswalks, the pedestrian crosswalks. A partnership between us and the town of Longwood to put those flashing parking crosswalks and so forth in. So we're always looking for those types of efforts. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is James Bennett and I'm a junior here. Earlier tonight you said that some of the reasons for the gunman not being listed as imminent ongoing threat were because he was gone from the area and because he was only focused on one person. And earlier tonight you also said, and I quote, your definition of an imminent threat is, quote, a person with intent and capabilities to cause immediate harm. So that person had intent and capabilities to cause immediate harm to that one person. My question has to do with what we're doing moving forward. Are there any conversations that have already occurred about changing police training so that police take into consideration, even though one person is the focus, they're still in danger, meaning that the campus is in danger? And also, are there any conversations about updating procedures so that maybe notifications can be sent out before it's determined that's an imminent threat, letting students know that there is a possible threat on campus?
Okay, maybe I haven't made it clear enough. You do understand that when the police arrived, this person had left, right? So there was no imminent threat to anyone here. Now, we have identified him. We have arrested him. Yes, he's out on bond. He's been trespassed from the campus community. And he'll have a trial date. As a matter of fact, his first advisement, I think, is coming up in the next week. And so, from the legal aspect, we've done all that we can do to address him and deal with him. And the fact of the matter is that when the police arrived, he had left, and through our aggressive investigation, we knew that he wasn't here anymore. So the imminent threat was there. So our officers did everything they were supposed to do and did it very fine. Did it exactly the way it was intended to be done. Now the issue about notifications and communication with the community, I realize that's what this is all about. And that's the listening that we're doing, Dr. Pearson talked about, trying to find a way to make it more palatable and more appropriate for everybody. And Mr. McWilliams and Dr. Pearson and myself, we're going to be looking at this obviously continually. Like I said, it's an ever-going learning process to try to figure this stuff out. But the police response to this was perfect.
I was wondering if Mr. McWilliams could maybe enlighten us on just my question about maybe change in procedure, if there's been a conversation about alerts for possible threats as well as imminent threats.
Please be sure this is your last comment. Thank you.
Yeah, we have conversations after every time there's a crisis, and we constantly reevaluate. And one of the things that I think we will take into greater concern and think more deeply about every time we need to send a notification to you guys is what we've heard tonight. And so, yes, we've had conversations, and we will continue to have conversations about how we communicate, when we communicate, what we say, what we can say, and what you need to hear from us to know that you're safe.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, Ashley.
My name is Ashton Clark. I am a senior sociology major. First of all, I want to say thank you guys for getting up here and answering this. I know it cannot be easy. With the community from the audience coming at you with concerns and questions. So thank you for doing that and taking your time. Secondly, I do want to go back to what Chief Beach has said about trust. Personally, as a fourth-year student, I have sat across the desk from you in a constant harassment case that spurred from a sexual assault that you told me the same thing that you just quoted a little while ago, that you were trying to build confidence and empower us to trust in you. But when situations like this happen and we see this kind of response, I find it very difficult to continue to trust in something that we have not seen as spurred from a different incident. And I don't know if you've said that to other people in the audience, and I understand where you're coming from with that sentiment. But I do feel like it's what's perceived by the students that are hearing this. I think it's very important that, yes, this happened and it's very unfortunate, but the only thing we can do now is move forward. And so I want to know what you are planning to do to move forward to instill the trust of your students.
Can I say one thing before Chief addresses that? Someone said over here early on about citizenship, and it is not just you guys are being very brave too in talking to us and sharing your concerns. So I want to thank you guys too. It is not easy to stand at a microphone and question administrators and police chiefs and things. So kudos to you two for sharing what you're sharing. Let's.
Let me. I don't want to sound defensive here or front of it all. I want your confidence to be in the profession that I'm in and our efforts to keep you safe. What we have here is a problem of communication, and we have all admitted that there's been some lacking in that. But I can tell you that our goal constantly is to keep you safe, and I think we do a fairly decent job of that, and we did a very good job on this particular event of keeping the campus safe. Could there have been better communication? I think that's the whole point of the discussion. So my confidence I want is that your confidence in our ability and our effort, not that we're going to always get some of the collateral parts of it right, but in the effort of keeping you safe, that's where I want your confidence built. Because then, when I ask you to do something, or I'm out carrying on a function, okay, that I can't share everything with you at the moment, you're confident that we're doing the right thing to keep you safe.
And just one more, it's not a question, it's just a statement, but one person being intimidated in this small of a town and this close-knit of a community is all of us being intimidated, and so we are a family, and if one of us is intimidated, all of us are.
Thank you, Ashton.
Hello. My name is Kira. I am a senior here. And I just wanted to let you know that whatever I'm about to say is said with the utmost respect for you all, your positions, and for this university as a whole. Exactly what you just said, Chief Beach. This lack of communication is the reason we're here. It's not that we don't, appreciate how you and your department, that's not our thing. We don't do that. We appreciate how that was handled, that you guys got there, etc. But the lack of communication is 100% unacceptable. Okay? I know we've discussed it, but I really felt like I need to get up here and I need to say this because, I had a lot extra I wanted to put in there. I am from Newport News. Okay? I have never felt unsafe in this town ever in my life. Because, y'all know Newport News, okay? It's not a very safe place. However, I just really wanted to understand what the thought process was when there was a man outside of my apartment with a gun and I wasn't let know about it. So it was a Sunday afternoon. It was around 4 o'clock. I was out and about to come home. There could have been any number of crazy things that happened. I know they didn't, but that's not why we're here. We're talking about what could have happened. We should have been let know right then and there. It could have been as simple as, hey guys, we just received a call that there's a possible gunman in the village. We are addressing it now. Go inside and lock your doors. It did not have to be anything crazy. I'm very, I'm tired of hearing that we didn't want to create a hysteria or cause a panic, because panic creates vigilance and awareness. And we could have taken our appropriate precautions as adults to make sure that we were safe. We said, just like Nathan said, that was a frightening photo because it was a very frightening situation. Mr. McWilliams, I do appreciate what you said about, we want to make sure that we get the correct information out. And I'm a comm studies major, I get that. But you knew he was there, and you knew he had a gun, and that's all that we needed. Even the email that was sent out was worded in a way that did not make this seem like a major threat, and said you were pretty sure he was gone. So everybody that even spoke about it was like, oh, that's not a big deal, nothing's going on, it's over. And it wasn't. He wasn't arrested yet. None of that had occurred. We also weren't even informed when he was arrested. I eventually was having a mental breakdown about this, and anybody who knows me, I'm not an emotional person, and called my mother to let her know, because I didn't want to freak her out until I got some more information. And she told the dispatcher that maybe it would be a good idea to send an email to students that he had been arrested, so that maybe it would calm some of our fears. And we never even got that. You say it could be better, but I just really felt like this needed to be addressed. And I want to know what's going to be better next time. I think what we all want to hear is an apology and that this isn't gonna happen again because we have the right to know.
Well, thank you for sharing your concerns and your thoughts on this. What I will say again, and what I think I have said is we try to communicate the right way. And in this instance, we obviously fell short. We didn't give you what you needed to feel as secure in this situation as we knew that you were. And what we're going to do going forward is the same thing that I've said, which is we're going to listen to you. And every time we make a decision, think about this moment, think about what you said, think about what you need, and try as best we can to give that to you in the future. Okay? And so that's what I can say.
I think that's what we wanted. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Shannon.
Okay, so I'm just going to be honest in saying that you are telling us to be confident, but I'm nowhere near confident right now. We are too public of a campus to not have the proper security and communication regarding these safety concerns. On 3 separate occasions, we had too many close calls. The first one, when that man was at large, was in my dance practice. He was standing 10 feet away from me and my friends who were simply just dancing, and we were unarmed and unaware that he was even going to be at large until the next day. And then the second one, with the shootout in Cumberland, there was rampant communication about how it was on 3rd Street, on Buffalo Street, it was here, it was there, and I'm sitting in my friend's house freaking out because I don't know where it is and if I'm even safe. And then this past weekend, with a man with a rifle walking around my friend's apartments with my friend at the desk. It's so scary to me. I understand that he got arrested, but he's out on bond now. What are we going to do to make sure he doesn't come back? When is it going to be too late and then we start putting in the active shooter protocols, all these communications? Why does something have to happen for us to make a change? Because it seems like, okay, it's not happening, so we're just going to sit here until, it gets too serious. And I just feel like students, not only faculty, need to have the proper training. Because what am I going to tell my residents that if there's somebody outside with a gun, what am I going to tell them? I don't know what to tell them. I just feel like we need proper training. We need all the protocols we need to do. We need to just keep pushing, keep pushing. We can't just let things just happen and then wait for something more serious to happen for us to finally make a change.
Thank you very much for your comments, Cheyenne. I know how hard it is. We do appreciate it.
Question there.
So you're not like asking questions?
The question was about implementing additional training for people. Well, I'll say, and the chief can attest to this, our police undergo constant training, including active shooter training. We do training on the communication side of things. We can always get better at our jobs. I understand your concerns, and we're taking them to heart. And yeah, we will try to do better on the communication side of things. But we do go through training regularly.
What I'm hearing from you is training for not only staff, but students as well. And Ms. Tracy Giles over there raising her hand. She's in charge of our emergency management. We started last year a program called Code Red Forum. We've put it on any of the hearing and speech graduates, undergraduates in here. We just put on a big tabletop for them. We're doing it all over the place. We do a Code Red training at least twice a semester. We put it out and ask students to come where we talk about this. So we've been doing it for a couple of years. Again, I guess one of the problems we have is that we haven't either been vocal enough or it hasn't been put out there enough for people to feel that it was important, and maybe now that process will occur a little stronger on our side to put the information out. But we do that, and we're going to continue to do it, and we'll expand that process as best we possibly can. And I'm sorry that you've been affected this way.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really difficult for all of us is as much a human factor as anything. Sometimes when these kinds of things happen, they raise our consciousness and seriousness about things that are around us every day. And for those that either work in schools or have dealt with this on an ongoing basis, in a lot of places, it's more real when it hits your door. And I think this is what's happening here at Longwood in terms of these kind of events raise our consciousness in terms of not only how we're communicating, but also how we're acting as a community. We often get calls with non-residents bunking in with students, and that really can be a danger. Or students letting someone into a building, tailgating, those kind of things. There's a lot of these things that we as a community, there's certainly means that we have in responsibility, and we need to do a better job of communicating. Police, I can tell you, they work really hard, and they're at it, and they will do everything they can, but it really takes a community, really, that all of our eyes, that's why we say, even with assault, see something, say something. Jen, we have the Just Report It website where you can report any of these things. It's really going to take all of us. It really, so we talk about it, Lori brought this up in terms of our citizenship in doing our part. Everyone has to do that. If you see somebody who you don't know, call them. At least that person can be checked out. So I would implore all of us to take that on. If we see something, we get a message out right away on it to the police.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Andrew Jones. I'm a fellow student here at Longwood, like everyone that's here. So obviously I'm very concerned. And I guess my question is, based on hearing the questions and comments that have been made, as well as some other safety concerns that have happened last semester that have sort of trickled into this semester, and the fact that we're having this town hall, my question is, do you all believe that you are doing the best job at not only keeping us safe, but also making us feel safe?
On the communications aspect, which is what I deal with, which I think is the partly goes to the feeling safe aspect. Like I said, we constantly try to hit the right note, the right tone, and give you the right information that makes you feel safe when we know that you're not under imminent threat in ongoing situations. Sometimes we hit that right balance, and sometimes we don't. And in this situation, obviously, you guys needed more information. And so next time, we will talk about as much, giving you the information that you need. That's what I can promise you as far as feeling safe goes.
I would say there's every year internally, I end up snagging some student and getting them to do a climate survey of students to try to find out how well we're doing at making people feel safe. Climate survey for the university was just completed last year, and I will tell you that the broad stroke is that we hear that most students feel safe. But an event like has happened, events over the past couple of weeks that occur raise people's awareness and concern. I'm old enough to have experienced and gone through 9/11. And I will tell you that tragic events occur and our emotions rise and we become vigilant over those issues and concerned about them. My goal and my job is to try to keep a level of vigilance and concern for the student population and to keep before them the sense that there are bad things that can happen, but there is also a significant effort to try to protect and to serve. And so, to answer your question, right now, there's a session, part of this population of this university that does not feel safe. I get it. I understand that. And so we have to do more. That day, on that Sunday, I had both Farmville Police Department and the Sheriff's Department from Prince Edward, as well as our staff, spend more time riding through Longwood Village and up and down that area to try to not only make sure that that everybody was safe, but to put a presence there to cause people to feel safe. We got to work at it. I got to somehow or another increase that, and this is a downfall for us right now, to try to find a way to build your sense of safety back up, and I promise you I'm committed to that.
I think one of the things that we've even done that kind of as a changing thing is when we have spring weekend or Oktoberfest, you know, out behind Langford, it's all gated now, and we have police that are there, and those kind of things, that's a dramatic change. It wasn't that long ago where our residence halls weren't locked. Now they're all carded. So these kind of things, they're continually ramping up, and that's part of our culture today. And so we are going to continue that.
If I can say just one thing, it's just a comment.
Please be quick.
Oh, I will. This comment is just, I just wanted to part of a mentality that my mom passed on to me. Prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. That's all I have to say.
I just want to remind everyone, we've been here for a little while, so if you could please try to be concise and limit to one thought or question. I would like to be able to hear from everyone who wants